What is going on, everyone? It is Colin Neal here for Sam Houston Sports Talks pod number 93. Comes your way right here, right now. If you haven't already, be sure be sure you subscribe today for all of the Bearcat talk. Follow us on all of our social media outlets. Links are in the description. If you're new around here, we would greatly appreciate it. Even if you're not new, whatever you do, tuning in, click on the video for a second, watch it for 1 minute because you get tired of my voice. Whatever you do to support Sammy Sports Talk, we greatly appreciate it. Now, got a lot to get to. Sam Houston spring football just concluded. So we brought on sports editor of the Huntsville Item, Colton Foster. He'll be joining us to talk about it, and also baseball and softball. A lot to get to on that, but just got to just apologies if I'm a little bit energetic right now. Just got off of work. It's 12:56 a.m. April 30th, 2026, and I just saw the Rockets. The Rockets take it to the Lakers in LA to force a game 6. And I was working at Sports 0610, of course, weeknights. I am the night show producer for Area 45 with Sean Bajani and Patrick Creighton. So if you somehow don't have enough of my voice, go ahead and go check us out on Sports Radio 610. There's this guy texts in, full blown, just admits it. He's a Houston sports guy, believe so. And he full on goes ahead and admits that he placed a bet on the Rockets before the series started for the Rockets to be done in 5 games. Basically, people were going at it a little bit in the text, the comments on YouTube, basically having a debate about being a fan of a team. Are you really a fan? Even if you claim yourself to be one, are you really a fan of a team if you're betting against them just so you can have certain narratives go your way? And for the Rockets case, don't be wrong. I have my feelings about Ime Udoka, the head coach of the Rockets, that I don't. How does this, Colin, though, bring you to do a solo segment first before we got to Colton Foster? Well, it's because of what happened a little over 24 hours ago. By the time I'm recording this, Sam Houston baseball against number 4 team in the country in Texas Longhorns. Just an absolute great game. And I am not afraid to say that. It was a great game. It was a fun game. I was watching it while working. I was invested into it. Sam Houston got out to a 9-3 lead after the first 4 innings. Texas came back 5 spot in the 5th, 3 spot in the 6th. Boom, tied up. Texas took the lead in the 6th as well. Sam Houston comes back the next inning, top of the 3rd. Wes Baker hits a 3-run jack. He had a grand slam and a 3-run jack, 7 RBI, the most runs driven in for a Bearcat freshman in a game. Freshman. Repeat that one more time. Freshman. And then they gave the Sam Houston a 12-11 lead. The Longhorns then got the game knotted back up in the bottom of the 8th with one run in the bottom of the 8th inning. And then Kirby Orff hit a 2-run tank, an absolute tank, to put the Bearcats in the lead 14-12. And, excuse me. And Noah Kendrick goes out there, your best strike thrower. He doesn't have overpowering stuff, but he can throw strikes. We've seen him do it before with the amount of contact he induces. And gets a 2-2 10-pitch at battle and hits the guy, and then the dominoes fall apart and walk-off homer. Number 4 Texas survives against the Sam Houston Bearcats. And while that walk-off sucked, it sucked. Deep down, I was pretty impressed. How many of y'all exactly expected the Bearcats to go to Austin? And be honest, you can comment down below. Be honest right now. How many of you expected them to go the full 9 innings in the first place? I was thinking they could probably do it, especially with the improvement, and then get out to the lead and basically have the Longhorns beat them by walking them off. And yes, Sam Houston did hurt themselves at times. It happens. Walks are going to happen. Hit batters are going to happen. And at the end of the day, Sam Houston just ran out of arms in the bullpen. After a bit of a taxing Sunday, kind of a taxing weekend as a whole. What's more important? A midweek against the number 4 team in the country where, yeah, if you win, you score RPI points, but you're not really in contention at all to begin with to get an at-large bid. It'd just be a cool win, some history making. No, you save yourself, you save the staff, the pitching staff, for the weekend, which they face Kennesaw State, the Owls, at Kennesaw, Georgia. This weekend in a another pivotal Conference USA series. So you know what? I sat there, I thought about it for a quick few seconds, and I'm like, you know what? This loss sucks. I wish they would have pulled it off, but it is what it is. I didn't expect them. When you look at the numbers, when you look at the rosters, when you look at the situation, I just didn't expect this, and I'm proud of this team for pushing the number 14 to a brink. But I was met with immediately when I logged on to the great old X, the great old Twitter, the great old social media. I was legitimately disappointed at the responses. First of all, a lot of y'all were barely saying anything when Sam Houston was on this run before Texas, where they'd won 6 of their last 7 before they went to Austin. It included a big road series sweep over New Mexico State, where percentage-wise, the Bearcats were not favored to take the series on the road, especially against a top 50 offense in New Mexico State, and your offense still not showing signs that it was improving. And then they went off. And the pitching was good when it needed to be, especially in that second game on that Saturday, that 4-3 win against the Aggies. And then come back home, you take a win over a top 50 at the time. Don't know where they are right now, but top 50 at the time in RPI on Warren Nolan and net on pair ratings, which are the 2 websites I go to. You took the win there. The pitching was good. The management by Sirianni for that bullpen in that game was good. Then they took a series against Middle Tennessee in a pivotal series where you had to win on Sunday in order to take the series. And Hickman didn't look good. Jay Sirianni tells Aloisio to go warm up in the bullpen, and then Hickman locked in and pitched a quality 6 innings, 3-run ball, quality start. And then Texas comes in and everyone starts coming in. And I don't understand it. What exactly do people have against Sirianni? And yes, you can point to last year. I understand. Last year was horrible. It was terrible. It was the worst season in Sam Houston Bearcat baseball history. Sirianni was given a shot to fix this. And so far, I think he's not been that bad. Y'all make it sound like he's the most horrible coach in the country when he's not. He's actually a really decent coach at best for y'all. That's where y'all should be agreeing at best. I mean, I think I think he's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some decisions that I personally don't agree with, especially with the bullpen management, where there was cases along that 11 game losing streak where it was kind of interesting, where I didn't agree. But you know what? This is what I am. I am a person who's credential media that talks about a university's athletics on a sports talk podcast to give y'all my insight, my opinions, and to keep y'all up to date on Sam Houston sports. But from the from the sound of it, it's just so damn annoying. The whining. Like, guys, they took the number 4 team in the country to the brink, and y'all are whining? Really? Yeah, I get it. They were up 6 runs, but if you sat there and thought that this lead was going to be safe against the number 4 team in the country, you sorely mistaken yourself. That is on you, not the baseball team. It's on you for having those expectations. And speaking of expectations, why does it seem like that every single year, when it comes to all sports in general, that they have to run over everyone? And I get it, that's fandom, that's fanatic. It's fan is short for fanatic. I totally understand it. Whatever. But take it game by game. The sky is not falling after this game. They're in a pretty decent spot in the Conference USA standings after they had absolutely horrible start to Conference USA play, where they've just taken where they took series over FIU on the road. I will add, in Western Kentucky, who might not actually be as bad as people have initially thought. They are not the team they were last year, but they're not that bad. This team has been improving, but when they were improving and they were doing good, it was barely ever mentioned. Barely. But then they lose to the number 4 team and all the wheels come off. And it feels like sometimes, and again, comment down below, am I wrong to think that sometimes that a lot of y'all want this team to fail because you don't like the head coach? Because it damn sure feels like it. And if you do think that, you are not a real supporter. I didn't use fan in that. I don't want to use fan. I'd rather say supporter. If you're really going to take that stance, that's just on you as well. And I don't, to be honest, respect that. If you're hoping for this team to fail, you are also hoping for the student athletes to fail. And that's just, and maybe y'all are not thinking about that, but hey, maybe you need to think about it. Think about your words next time. Sirianni's gotten this team to plenty of wins, especially for the transitions of conferences. He's oversaw talent. He's literally developing a potential day 2 draft pick in Ryan Peterson, who I think could be a day 1 if MLB teams really saw highly of him. And he's developed some other guys, and he made a key hire this offseason to try to correct the mistakes that have happened over the past couple of years in the recruiting aspect by hiring an up-and-coming guy, David Wood. And I like to think that hire is already starting to show its spoils. And I don't like to look ahead, but I'm actually pretty excited for the next year. I'm especially since Sam Houston is hosting the Conference USA baseball tournament next year. I'm pretty excited, especially with the young core that this team has. The expectation this year was to rebuild internally, get that team culture back on track, and have a young core of guys while also recruiting down the line to have a sustainable future. 2024 was a good year, but it was filled with a lot of seniors where you had to replace a lot, and we saw how that turned out. in 2025. Low that I mean, you can't really go get any worse than what that year than last year. And in my mind, 20 wins. Hey, if they finish around 500 and they make the conference tournament, and that's a success. I'm fine with that. And see what happens. You never know what's going to happen once rubber meets the road in conference tournaments. You never know what's going to happen, especially with baseball and softball, especially those diamond sports, and especially like in other sports. And then when I'm talking about the young core, every time a freshman, a young gun, a kid, a guy that has a good game, he's definitely transferring next year. He's going to use this film. Huh? Okay, so what? If he transfers, so what? I don't care about that personally right now. I care about what's in front of us. I was worried about Tuesday because with the Texas game. Now I'm worried about how is this team going to respond on Friday when Peterson takes the mound against Kennesaw State, who's not the record's a little deceiving. They're actually not that bad, but they be making a hell of a statement if they take this series on the road in Kennesaw, Georgia, where, funnily enough, the Conference USA tournament is being hosted this year in 2026. And what Colton Foster is going to educate us in about a few minutes when we start when I play my conversation with him, y'all are gonna find out that maybe you already have an idea, but this baseball program has a good culture. It's like a family, as Colton was going to point out and get more into. And also they have pretty decent financial support, much more than you probably think. Probably it's a much supported program. And guess who leads the way? Guess who's responsible for making sure that connects? Sirianni. Y'all didn't say anything about the pitching when it was good, and it was the hitting where y'all had massive issues with, but y'all still blame Sirianni, even though that's not his forte. Just to re-educate y'all real quick, Shane Wedd is the one that leads the hitting department. He's the one that was responsible for the high-powered offenses we saw lead before 2025 when Sam Houston made the regionals in 2023 and that high-powered offense 2024 developing guys that made it to the majors and playing minor league ball right now. And Sirianni, and no one's calling him a pitching grand wizard or all that crap, which I saw, which I was like, what the hell? I mean, the pitching staff has just been average, and that's fine. It's a mile better than what last year was. That's what I was hoping that'd be an improvement, is the pitching. On Tuesday, the bullpen was just thin. It happens. It is what it is. To crash out over a midweek is just, to me, downright crazy. And I do not care if this gets on people's nerves. What I've said here in this segment, I made it clear where I stand. I was the one that was optimistic and was ready to say, right hand up, that I was wrong. But this team went out there, they took care of business at New Mexico State against Middle Tennessee, picked up a nice win against Baylor, and I'll repeat one more time, went toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the country. And at the end of the day, if you want to continue cheering against the squad and not giving them credit when it is due, once again, that is on you. They are getting ready for another big series this weekend against Kennesaw State, and I am very interested to see how they respond to such a heartbreaking loss in Austin against the Longhorns. I got nothing more to say. I can go further, but I'm gonna leave it right there because up next I talked to the Huntsville Items sports editor. He's been there for quite some time. His name is Colton Foster. That interview comes your way right here, right now on Sam Houston Sports Talk. Keep it right here on pod number 93. Huntsville Item, and one I am lucky enough to be called a friend of his. It is Colton Foster. Colton, thank you for hopping on for a couple of minutes. Talk to us about Sam Houston sports. We haven't really talked in quite some time. I mean, me and you talk all the time at Sam Houston Athletics, but I feel like getting you back on the pod was long overdue because a lot has happened since we brought you on.
Yeah, it's been a while. I can't remember when it was for football, but it might have been right after Texas, and now it's right after baseball played Texas. So here we are.
Well, you just spoke it. Like, let's go ahead and lead off with it because you were in Austin last night. I'm surprised you're still walking around. You probably didn't get home no less than 8 hours ago. Just how was the trip, man? What did you see? I know a lot of people are pretty upset right now. I mean, they had a good lead on Texas, but hey, they're number 4 team in the country for a reason, led by Schloss, and it is what it is. 15-14 loss. Just kind of what was your take on last night's result?
Yeah, man, it was a cool trip. It was my first time going to the dish, so that was kind of exciting. But no, I mean, I think that game went exactly how you could want it if you were Sam. Ultimately, you want the win. The difference is they have arms that they can continue to pull from, and Sam Houston doesn't quite have that depth there late in games, especially in midweeks. Yeah, it would have been cool to say you beat the number 4 team in the nation in a Tuesday night, but at the end of the day, you're more worried about taking the series this weekend, and at Kennesaw than trying to win a Tuesday night in Texas. It would also be a little different if you were playing the RPI game, but at this point, Sam's playing we have to win the conference championship to get into any postseason action. So a Tuesday night in Austin is probably a game that they don't have the utmost concern in winning, but they're really concerned about saving the arms for Kennesaw State. And just the same next week with Lamar coming to town, I'm sure they're going to be more worried about hosting Delaware than they are playing Lamar on a Tuesday night.
It also come after a Sunday where they had to go through a good amount of arms against Middle Tennessee in order to secure a pivotal series against the Blue Raiders. And really, they won 6 of their last 8 games, including a road sweep against New Mexico State when the season looked at its most dire. Then they took a midweek against a at the time top 50 RPI and net team in Baylor, who Sam lost pretty badly a month ago, and they took, like I just said, they took the series against the Blue Raiders. I mean, what have you seen so far from this Bearcat baseball team from the beginning of the season when they took that series against McNeese to now?
You've seen progression. And I think that's the word of the year, Sam Houston, is they progressed from game one. And even you were there, Jay Sirianni talked about it post game about we told the guys in February that this isn't where we're going to be in May. And you've seen them get better. You've seen guys get better over the year. Think about Kirby Orth. I mean, 2 weeks ago he falls off second base and he gets out as the I think to make it a one, like you could have made it a 1 run game. And now all of a sudden you have one out with nobody on and you're down two. Last night he hit an absolute tank against the number 4 team in the country. That's been the biggest key is you've seen these guys get better and the offense getting better. And that's really come along in the last 2 3 weeks, really since that New Mexico State series. I don't know what the exact run number is, but I think they scored like 21 or 25 against um oh whoever was just here over the weekend. And then Middle Tennessee, and then they put up 14 against Texas. And Texas went out and threw one of its weekend arms to try to get out of the game.
You, I mean, the struggles this season were just highlighted by the bats. Of course, you didn't have Ryan Frandon for almost a month, and then he comes back, and you can see the impact he has been having. I mean, really, it comes down to like you just said, improvement at. But at the end of the day, hey, this year it feels the expectation this year is getting back to conference play, rebuilding internally while also building up a core. Is that a fair expectation to have? Would you think for this year's team?
Oh yeah. I mean, last year's team was 14 and whatever. I mean, the
14. I
expectation
thought they
this
only
year
won 12 games. Huh? Yeah,
was
14.
it 12? 14? Whatever, 12 or 14. I
It
think it
was
was
bad either
14.
way. It was it
But
was it
yeah,
was
I
way
mean,
bad.
the expectation was like, hey, let's not do that again. You're on pace. You're going to win 20. I think they're 20 and 25 right now. Um, your expectation is to get into the conference tournament. You can't be one of the worst three teams in Conference USA, is what that means. And then go win a conference game, maybe. The way the tournament is, you might win a conference game and maybe you win a second, um, and make it into the semifinals. But this year, to me, was one of those years that was rebuilding. And I get it, the whole transfer portal. You got guys that are going to have good years. I mean, look at what Kirby Orth did yesterday, what Cade Corcoran's done this entire year. But ultimately, Sam Houston has a good enough culture to keep guys like that. Look at Walker Yannick. I mean, he was a guy that stayed as well. There's a culture in that program that shouldn't go unnoticed.
I've actually kind of wanted to dig a little bit into that because I think because I swear every time a freshman or somebody has such a good performance that everyone just assumes that, hey, he's gonna go play for Texas next year. Just watch. But I think people, and you could help me out here because you actually educated me on this quite a lot over this season. You talked about the culture, but they also have the support financially to keep competing and actually keep guys there.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know exactly what their budget is, but they have, I think they're probably second to football in NIL money. And as a at Sam Houston, they have people to help keep guys around. But the difference is, if A&M decides they want the hometown kid, Cade Corcoran, they can throw more money than Sam Houston can. But the thing is, and it's across all sports. The culture that Sam Houston has is it's like it's literally people treat it like a family, and I think that's something that's been lost in college sports. But man, you tell an 18 to, I guess, 23, 4-year old, here's a check, there's seven figures on it. All you got to do is sign it and come play here. I can't think of very many 18 to 24-year-olds that aren't doing that.
Yeah, that is fair. We were all 18 to 24 at one point in our lives. Yeah, I mean, I've heard from a good amount of sources that Walker turned down six figures from A&M to continue playing at Sam Houston. I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys probably get approached during the season with monetary offers with tamper. I mean, tampering's now looks like it's starting to become, more looked down upon. Maybe some penalties could be passing along, especially since Dabo Sweeney in his press conference talking ish about uh Golding at Ole Miss. But besides the point here, just to kind of you know put a bow on baseball for now, just kind of what do you want to see? What do you think that baseball should do as the season winds down to not to just further secure themselves a spot in Conference USA. They've gotten the job done over these last few weeks. So, in against certain opponents, they've got the tiebreakers over a lot of teams that are competing for the outside the top five. They've got tiebreakers over FIU, Western Kentucky, New Mexico State, and Middle Tennessee. And Kennesaw State's another big one that they're going to have to win because Kennesaw State, I believe, as the standings show, they are currently out of the Conference USA tournament. And then they got, of course, Delaware and Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, so if my memory serves right, Sam is like 9-12, and then Kennesaw State is 8-12 or 8-13 or whatever. So to me, this series is probably the most important one of the season at this point. I would have argued New Mexico State was. If you can win this series, I'm not sure how the math works out, but you get that tiebreaker over another team, and that's the most important thing is winning these series and just treading water to this point. Louisiana Tech, who you closed the year with at the Love Shack, they look like they're going to try to make a late push to win the whole conference. um, I mean, I feel like if you can take one game there, you're good. But these next two series, with this Kennesaw State one being with a team that's right there with you, to me, it's the same significance as Middle Tennessee was. But now you're on the road, and this team, this Kennesaw State team, is trying to get into a tournament that they are hosting. And if you can take this series, you put yourself in a really good spot to if you're Sam Houston, you can put yourself in a really good spot to make the tournament and head back to Kennesaw, Georgia.
It's funny because I remember last year where Sam just looked dead, and then for some and out of nowhere they swept Liberty, who was hosting the tournament, the Conference USA tournament last year, and they actually threatened to have Liberty not be in their own hosted Conference USA tournament. So going to Kennesaw State, it's a quite an interesting bout there. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they face off against the Owls. Next up on the topics I want to get with you, Colton. Uh, well, I don't really know how to exactly lead off with this because you were at open practice, but literally an hour before or whatever we started recording, we got news of the revised Conference USA schedule, some changes to Sam Houston. It honestly, in my opinion, Colton, I'm just glad that this whole saga is over with Conference USA and Louisiana Tech finally coming in to an agreement.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we talked about it from the jump. I was kind of always on that standpoint of side A wanted to pay this, side B wanted them to pay this, and both numbers were way off. So they finally got to a judge and they got the middle ground. And I mean, that felt like that was what was going to happen. It just needed that third party to say, "Hey, these were the rules. This is what you have to pay. Pay it and leave, or don't pay it and don't leave." Felt like that was what needed to happen. So when it finally happened, that's awesome. But yeah, the new schedule, you can put it behind you. Louisiana Tech doesn't have to play a 20 game schedule, and ultimately both parties could just move on because ultimately that's what needs to happen at this point.
So the changes that the most important change, I would say, I mean, because this before this whole thing with La Tech, the original schedule had Sam Houston getting two bye weeks. One was after Texas Tech, and then the other one was in the middle of October, where they were playing two Thursday games to begin, and then bye, and then two Tuesday games. But now it's all switched up. Sam only gets one bye week again, and that's still after Texas Tech. But now they're going to have to deal with midweek Conference USA with with the new schedule. I'm trying to find the thing that I just posted. It just gave me the wrong one. There it is. Now it's Thursday, Wednesday, and then Tuesday. At Liberty, at home versus Western Kentucky, New Mexico State, and at Missouri State. Just kind of what has been your outlook on the new schedule for Sam Houston football so far? I mean, I know you haven't really got much time to look at it, but
Yeah, it's just looking at it now. We talked about Sam's only getting that one bye week after Texas Tech heading into conference play. But if you look a little deeper into that midweek mashup to the weekend, you play on October 27th, and then you don't play again until November 7th. So while it's not necessarily an entire bye week, you can consider it a mini bye from Tuesday to the following Saturday. So I mean, to me, that's one of those weeks that after the game Tuesday, you give the guys 2, 3 days off, tell them come back on Saturday, get away from everything. So I think there's a second bye kind of hidden in there, albeit it's not an entire week off. But if memory serves correctly, I don't even think they had a week off last year in any of their bye weeks. I think they were at least on the field for most of those anyways.
they were either on the field or on the road. Like, it'll be nice for them to be back at Bowers Stadium this year. What have you been hearing about the progression of Bauer Stadium? I mean, I've already said like things like, hey, they're dead set on it being ready for the home opener against Tulsa on September 12th. But is there anything else that maybe we should all know?
I mean, ultimately, it sounds like they're going to be in it here soon. They're going to get the keys, and then that's when the um, Sam Houston will get the keys, and then they can start doing what they need to do and setting up for broadcast and setting up for everything else, moving in furniture, moving in all of that. And everything should be on pace to be ready for the home opener against, was it Tulsa in September? But I mean, there's always that chance that something happens. The good part is it's all I think the correct term is it's lightning proof or weatherproof, which means it's enclosed. So if that's the case, then there shouldn't be any snags in anything because you can always work inside. It's just a matter of getting those final touches and then getting in and getting set up for the football season.
I am very curious to see what it looks like when it opens up for us to go and look at it. I mean, it's something that was bound to happen for years. It just comes at a time where, you're still in a way sort of transitioning still in FBS. But in a way it sort of does, in a way it doesn't affect the on-field play. You were at the so-called open practice on this past Saturday. You and I were talking a lot during while you were there. You've made some notes. Just kind of what was your overall thoughts on this 2026 squad?
Yeah, I mean, it's a squad that's going to have some talent. They aren't lacking talent this season. Um, it's one of those years though that I feel like it's a make or break year for a lot of things. Um, there's also it was spring football, so there's a lot of stuff that you have to kind of take with a grain of salt. But there was also, you know, DJ Bailey looked really good in the spring game or open practice, whichever you want to call it. Um, and it's one of those decisions that if you Casey Keeler said it best a couple years ago with Keegan Shoemaker and Grant Gunnell. He said, "I'm if I pick whatever guy we pick, we are going to give him a long leash because I don't want him looking over his shoulder every day in practice." I think Phil needs to do something like that with whoever he picks. Ultimately, it seems like Landon Locke is going to be the guy, but DJ Bailey, I mean, he really looked good in the spring game, and he was going against the number one Sam defense in spring. Will that be who's the number one defense in the fall? Who knows? Um, but it's one of those decisions that, if he picks Landon week one and things don't go well at Troy, I mean, the conversation's going to start is, well, maybe it should be DJ Bailey. And that's just one of those things that, I mean, I think summer and fall is going to bring a lot of questions for a lot of positions on that team, but primarily the quarterback position.
It, it seems like Sam just can't seem to escape a constant quarterback conversation. And but hey, listen, spring football is spring football. Like you said, you take it with a grain of salt. And also there's cases of players that look extremely good in like practice settings, but then don't look good in game situations and then vice versa. Just, but hey, if DJ Bailey continues to improve, and if Landon Locke is stalled and he can't seem to get things going, it's like, I mean, I've said it. It's just it's going to be a tough decision for Longo to either go with a guy that he brought with him when he first got to Sam, and a guy that has stayed here, that was that has stayed here, and and balling out at the same time and improving.
Yeah, and that's kind of all full circle with baseball and how they've just improved over the year. I mean, ultimately, I do think it's Landon Locke's job to lose, but I mean, DJ Bailey made a really strong case in front of the fans of the open practice on why he could and potentially be quarterback one. But ultimately, as Phil summed it up post the spring game, just that offensive line is going to be key, and they have 10 new faces in that room, and getting that put together with the new offensive line coach is really going to be the most important thing for this team. I want to say last year the Bearcats were sacked like 36 times, which was 123rd in college football or something like that. 123rd worst in college football. So getting that offensive line is going to be the sure key for Sam this year.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot going back and watching a lot of the games. I mean, I'm only limited to the highlights, but every now and then I can find some full game film. It's very telling that the off with the offense, a lot of the problem there were a lot of problems, but that front the offensive line is where it all starts, and there were problems, especially on that left side. The left side was not that good last year. I mean, the right side was pretty solid. I mean, Colt Dietrich, the right tackle, is now at Washington, and Rhett Larson transferred. He's going to probably be a key piece up in Western Kentucky. And Jack Bicknell Jr. only arrived like a few months ago, perhaps, or however long he has been here officially. I mean, I agree. I think that's going to be the more important room. I'm pretty confident in all the other rooms outside of quarterback. Just going to be looking at offensive line personally. What about the defense? What have you noticed? Did you ever notice anything about that side of the ball that got a lot of scrutiny last year?
Yeah, you can tell they had a specific body type they were looking for in their secondary. They got really tall and they got faster. Ultimately, that's what they were looking for, and they did it. Caesar McGee got some real reps in the spring game and stood out. I want to say it's Jalen Stradford. I can't
Stafford.
remember.
Yeah.
Stafford. He looked really good in it as well. Ultimately, like they had a body type on that, and of course, Coach Longo was asked about it, and he reverted to saying how that's going to make the receivers better. So doing that, I mean, you can tell that they took real strides on the defensive end with Freddie Autry, Lindsey, and I think you're going to see a lot of progression on that side of the ball this year too. And you have to remember, a lot of those guys last year they were last minute guys. They brought in 55 new faces, and 33 of them were in the summer. I can't remember what the tagline was. But they didn't have their own guys. They had guys that they just needed to field a team. So now that they've got some guys in here, I think the defensive staff is going to be able to do some work and be able to put, a 11 on the field that are going to help this team in the long run.
There anything else you would like to point out about open practice this past Saturday?
Um, no, I mean, while the crowd wasn't, massive, there was still a pretty decent crowd for spring football in Huntsville, Texas. You can tell the itch with some of the students is back to get to play in Huntsville. You can tell that the coaches are excited to play in Huntsville too. You would assume the players are, but some of the players are still new and they weren't on the team last year. Now, there's a lot of continuity and stability from this roster too. So there's just ultimately having guys that have been in the system for a year and coaches too is probably the biggest plus this team has.
Is that you mentioned earlier make or break year for a lot of things. Is it a make or break year for the guy that's ultimately in charge in Phil Longo?
I mean, it's one of those things that you went 2-10 last year and your two wins weren't the prettiest. Um, the other, like we talked about with baseball, was there was progression. There's been progression from February to April 29th when we're recording. I didn't feel like we saw that on the football side of things. I actually felt like there was a little bit of a regression. Now they did win two of their last four, but then, FIU comes to Shell Energy Stadium, and by the third quarter, you're just sitting there going, how much longer is left in this one? So I think that there's a lot riding on this season. You're at home, as we've talked about. There's really no more, hey, these aren't my guys. These are the guys you wanted. These are the guys that you've picked. Ultimately, I mean, I don't know if anybody would make any sort of move, but man, if you start 0-4 and have a loss to Nichols, or if you start, I just feel like if you're not 2-2 through non-conference play, like you're behind the eight ball in a season that you needed to be arguably 3-1 by the start of conference play.
So clearly, one of those three wins is against Texas Tech. Am I right? I mean, because so
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be without their starting quarterback. So,
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, why not go to Lubbock and get that win?
all right, we had a little bit of a cut there because I remember the days when Zooms could go on forever, but you have to pay extra for it to go longer than 45 minutes. But we're back. I prevented Colton from getting his lunch, so I have him hostage for a little bit longer. We just got done talking about football, Colton. Just real quick, let's go ahead and go over to softball. They just got swept against FIU. You and I heading into the season, we're thinking like, hey, this pitching staff is going to be its strongest asset. Especially in this league in Conference USA, you need to have good pitching. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have a good offense, but if you really want to go deep and win your conference, in this conference, you have to have good pitching. And of course, they've dealt with injuries to Apke and Young. They they've used Tiffany Sanchez quite a lot. Kendall Daniel looks good at times, but then she has that one out of character start where, ultimately it just looks out of characteristic. Just kind of what's been your outlook on Sam Houston softball as they head to the final weekend of Conference USA play before they head on over to Delaware for the Conference USA tournament as they do have a spot locked in?
Yeah, I think you said it best. I mean, we've talked about it. We all going in, it was like, hey, this pitching staff is going to be key. And then you lose, was it? I think you lost Abigail Young after the first weekend, maybe the second weekend,
Yeah.
and then never got her back. Then you lose Amy Abke right after that. And all of a sudden you've got, you know, two pitchers that you're comfortable starting over a weekend series. From what Garrett Volich is done. I mean, it seems like Tiffany Sanchez and Kendall Daniel have been the workhorses. And there's others that he's not scared to throw. But what we thought was going to be their biggest strength has seemingly kind of been their biggest weakness. And what do when you have a pitching staff of, I think they had five and a half, six going in, you lose two, all of a sudden now you're like, okay, here we go. We gotta kind of put it together.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I
yeah,
mean, Young have and Apke have come back to say the least, but when you're not pitching for so long, it's really hard to get ramped back up again.
for sure. And there's a lot that's going into getting them back on the field full time. And that's just the biggest thing. When they have pitched, they just haven't looked good, or they haven't looked as good as they should for this team. And ultimately, I feel like that's going to be their Achilles heel, and we've seen it. They believe they've lost four straight, and they host Jack State starting tomorrow in a three-game set. And I believe Jack State's only lost two conference games all year. So you're gonna, have a really tough opponent in town for the final week where you're trying to, I don't want to say salvage a season, but you're trying to at least get in the tournament with one win in your last seven games.
Yeah, it you can't. Something tells me that you don't want to go into your conference tournament with a losing streak as long as they could potentially be on because Jack, like you mentioned, Jack State has been. I mean, Jack State hasn't been just good at baseball; they've been really good at softball this year as well. I mean, man, that school's Diamond Sports have been amazing this year. Do you? I mean, but question is though, how much can you necessarily rely on the bats? Because that there are times where the bats do tend to go quiet. I mean, they have the potential. We've seen what Ronnie Harrison can do. We've seen what Bel Perez can do. We've seen what Lundstrom can do. That top of the lineup. But it seems like afterwards, it's just kind of like, you know, it's a bit of a whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, and I think offense can win you games, but I don't know if it's winning you series and tournaments. It's just one of those things that if you score 8 runs, but you give up nine, then you lose. We're both Astros fans here.
I was literally thinking the same thing. Oh, that's so familiar.
but it's just one of those things that at the end of the day, if your pitching isn't keeping the opposing offense down and your offense is up, I mean, it's just a matter of who scores,
The
for
most.
lack of a better lack for lack of a better score. It's ultimately who scores 15 the most or
Uh,
the fastest.
I don't know what coach. I don't know what coach we've like run into that said it before. Is like, so coach, what? Just kind of what went to last night. Well, they scored more points than us.
Yeah.
But
It's just one of those things that they seem to. I mean, they're down right now, and who knows? They could come out and sweep Jack State Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we're all going, "Wow, look, it's the hottest team in Conference USA." But ultimately, it's all going to come down to. I think it's really going to come down to what that pitching staff can do in this final series, and then in the conference tournament. I believe it's in Delaware.
mhm. Yeah, first year in Conference USA, already hosting a conference tournament. All right, cool. Before I let you go, so you can go eat your lunch. Is there anything around Sam Houston athletics you feel like that needs that we should all be quite informed about? Maybe some things we need to look ahead to as we start to wind down this athletic year.
No, I mean, I think the both basketballs, we didn't really talk about them much, but I think they've had some good runs in the transfer portal over the last, what, 2 weeks or so. I do think retaining some of their talent is key. I would argue that keeping Jacoby Coleman is probably the biggest success of that. Jacob Walker would have been the ideal guy to keep, but ultimately, we all know um, he was going to go make a lot of money at some school, and it sounds like he's going to do that at Oklahoma State. Um, so I just think on that end, the basketball recruiting, they've done their due diligence, and they're trying to stay competitive in a Conference USA. But other than that, I don't really have anything.
Yeah. Well, Colton, appreciate you hopping on the Sam Houston Sports Talk thing. Sam Houston should try to do this more often, and maybe, I don't know, maybe not go over on our initial Zoom meeting. But appreciate you having you on, man. And I'm pretty sure we'll talk soon.